Good morning, Biblical Christians. This is Eugenio Aaron Corolla, and I just wanted to share something with you this morning. I was talking about and thinking about First Corinthians chapter 10, verse 23, where it says, all things are lawful for me, but not all things are helpful. All things are lawful for me, but not all things edify. So there's things that we can do in this world, right, that don't really benefit us in any positive kind of way. I'm not really against somebody having a drink, but you know what? What benefit does it give to you? First of all, second of all, what is the deal when it comes to talking to and about loving our God and loving our neighbor, right? When you have somebody that maybe they have a problem with alcohol, or maybe a young child who's never had a drink, maybe they look to you as a mentor, a leader, and they see that you keep alcohol in the house, or that you may have a drink with the game, or maybe even over a Christmas meal, or whatever it may be, right? And this kid who doesn't have the strength that you have. Maybe they struggle with alcohol, and maybe they're going to become a terrible alcoholic, right? Maybe the justification for why they did it or will do it is because, hey, Mr. or Mrs. such and such, they do it and they're good people. So what's wrong with drinking a little beer here and there? What's wrong with gambling on a game here or there? People have gambling problems, so even the wrong kind of jokes and all of these types of things, they're not really against the rules, right? Because we don't live under the law. We're no longer we were never under the law anyway. Israel was under the law, but we're not under the law, but we are in law to Christ, right? And so we have a freedom in Christ, right? But that freedom has set us free to do what the right thing is. And like I say, it's not necessarily wrong to do certain things, but it's not always helpful. And so we need to be sure to consider our brothers and sisters in Christ, because Paul said, "Hey, I wouldn't even eat meat if eating a certain kind of meat offended somebody." I mean, who wants to go without eating meat? I love a good steak. I love a hamburger. I love any kind of pork, fish, whatever. But if somebody's offended by that because in their ignorance they think that I'm sinning against God, right? Even though you can't get addicted to eating meat, but in them, but you can get addicted to some of these other things that I'm talking about. But the bottom line is, I just want to, mention this to you guys and just let you know that the Bible is not telling us just to look after our own interests. One thing Christ didn't do is he didn't consider himself, right? He considered us in our sinfulness and our ignorance and our rebellion against God. He considered us to the point of laying his life down in spite of us, right? And so, how much more, or at least a little bit, should we try to consider our brothers and sisters in Christ, or potential brothers and sisters in Christ, when we go through our daily life and we make decisions and choices, even though they may not be against any rule or any law, they are against a principle, right? The principle is to love God and love your neighbor, and love does not offend anybody. Now, I'm not saying that we have to go so far. Amber Alert, terrible. I'm not saying that we have to go so far as to dictate every move that we make be dictated by people and their every whim that they decide, hey, this is wrong and that's wrong. No, but whenever you know that somebody, it's a big deal, like addictions that we have, whether it's looking at a woman on TV, whatever it is, people could be watching you, right? And as a Christian, we want to set the example. We want to be the ones that people look to. We want to be the standard. But in this way, and in this life, it's really not the case, right? What we are is an example of how Christians are just like everybody else, right? We do the same things. We go to the same clubs. We drink the same kind of alcohol. We watch the same shows on TV. We talk with the same kind of language that everybody else around us talks with. And I think we do that in part because we think, okay, well, I'm a Christian, but I'm still a man, or I'm Christian, or I still have to go to work. Listen, no, in Christ, all have died and all will live, right? The death Christ died, you died. The life he lives, you now live. And it's because it's not us who lives any longer, but Christ who lives in us. That's Romans chapter 6. So I always want to drive that point home. And another thing too, when we talk about an athlete competing according to the rules, or a soldier, where it says in Second Timothy, cannot be concerned with the affairs of civilian life, right? Because if he was, he couldn't even please the one who enlisted him. Guess what a soldier can't do when he's in the military? He can't go to the to out drinking and getting drunk while he's supposed to be preparing for battle, right? And every day, every fight, every battle is a spiritual battle. So an athlete prepares for something that is going to expire, right? Whatever the crown is, whatever the trophy is that a person's going to receive, hey, that's temporary. It's going to fade away with this earth and everything in it. But they dedicate every life to being in the kind of shape that it takes to be ready when the challenge arises, right? And so we are called to be like Olympians, so to speak, right? We're supposed to be athletes for Christ, or we're supposed to be farmers for Christ, right? We want to take care of the land, right? We want to toil the field, and we want to put forth a good harvest, right? Because that's what farmers do. And it's like that's what their everyday life concerns of. He tells us about the farmer and about the athlete. He tells us about what it means to be a soldier. He tells us in his own life about how he can live and die for others, right? Considering others more important than himself. So this is just a call for Christians to realize that what we're allowed to do is not always good for other people, right? To see us do certain things, even if it's just their ignorance thinking, hey, well, you shouldn't do that. That's not right. Hey, it doesn't matter. If we are leading our weaker brother in the wrong direction, whether it's right or wrong, if it's not against a rule or a law, it's still against the principle. And that principle is love. And I love you guys. And I'll talk to you real soon. And I hope y'all like the backdrop.